No matter where you live in the world, whether it be North or South America, Africa, Asia, or the Middle East, it is proven that Mother Nature doesn't discriminate when choosing a location for the next natural disaster that leaves a trail of destruction and devastation in her path. Join us as we take a look at 19 shocking disasters that have rocked the first half of 2024. On January 1st, a powerful magnitude 7.6 earthquake struck Japan's western coast, causing widespread devastation. The quake resulted in the tragic loss of at least 120 lives and injured over 100 individuals. Emergency services responded to the crisis with rescue operations underway to assist those affected. Buildings and infrastructure suffered significant damage, leading to disruptions in local services. Authorities urged residents to stay alert as aftershocks were expected. Japan has experienced at least 14 major earthquakes in the last 10 years. On January 11th, devastating flooding resulted in the deaths of over 300 people due to the river Congo reaching its highest levels in 60 years. The hardest hit area was Kinshasa, Democratic Republic of the Congo, where the unprecedented floods caused widespread damage and disruption. Rescue teams and humanitarian organizations rushed to the affected region to provide aid and support to survivors. The government issued a warning about ongoing risks as the river remained dangerously high. Further updates on the recovery efforts were anticipated as the situation continued to unfold. On January 19th, a tragic gold mine collapse in the Kangaba district of southwest Mali claimed the lives of at least 70 miners. This disaster was the latest in a series of small-scale mine accidents that had plagued the region. Emergency teams swiftly arrived at the scene to search for survivors and provide aid. The incident underscored ongoing safety concerns in Mali's mining sector. Authorities vowed to investigate the collapse and implement stricter regulations to prevent further tragedies. Further updates on the rescue and recovery efforts were expected. On January 30th, local authorities confirmed that around 400 people had died from starvation caused by severe drought in Ethiopia's Tigray and Amhara regions. The dire situation has raised widespread fears of an impending famine. Humanitarian organizations and government officials rushed to provide aid, but the scale of the crisis posed significant challenges. Efforts to distribute food and water were underway, while international appeals for support intensified. Authorities pledged to address the urgent needs of affected communities and work towards mitigating the disaster. On February 2nd, wildfires ignited east of Viña del Mar, Chile, rapidly spreading to the Quilpre and Villa Alemana. The devastating fires claimed the lives of at least 131 people, with hundreds reported missing. This catastrophe marked Chile's greatest natural disaster since 2010. Emergency responders and firefighters worked tirelessly to control the blaze and assist affected communities. The destruction prompted widespread evacuations and raised concerns about extensive environmental damage. Authorities promised a thorough investigation and called for intentional aid to support recovery efforts. On February 5th, Los Angeles experienced one of its rainiest days in years, triggered by the Pineapple Express, an atmospheric river originating from Hawaii. The intense rainfall led to widespread mudslides and flooding across the city. Streets were inundated, and several homes sustained significant damage. Emergency services worked to manage the crisis, evacuating affected residents and providing assistance. The storm's impact highlighted vulnerabilities in the city's infrastructure, prompting calls for enhanced flood prevention measures. Authorities continued to assess the damage and coordinate recovery efforts. On April 3rd, a powerful 7.4 magnitude earthquake struck the east coast of Taiwan, south of Hualien, causing significant devastation. The quake resulted in the deaths of at least 9 people and left 900 others injured. Emergency services quickly mobilized to respond to the crisis, focusing on search and rescue operations and providing medical assistance to the injured. Buildings and infrastructures in the affected area sustained severe damage. Authorities urged residents to remain cautious as aftershocks were expected and continue to monitor the situation closely. On April 7th, the New York region was struck by a 4.8 magnitude earthquake accompanied by multiple aftershocks. This tremor was one of the largest earthquakes to hit the area in a century. The quake caused significant alarm and minor damage to buildings, though no fatalities were reported. Emergency services assessed the impact and provided support to affected residents. The unusual seismic activity prompted heightened scrutiny of the region's preparedness for such events. Authorities continue to monitor the situation and advise the public to stay alert for potential aftershocks. On April 16th, the United Arab Emirates recorded its largest rainfall in 75 years, causing severe flooding at Dubai Airport and resulting in significant disruptions. The torrential downpour also led to the tragic deaths of at least 18 people in neighboring Oman. Emergency services responded to the flooding, working to manage the chaos at the airport and provide aid to those affected by the extreme weather. Authorities warned of ongoing risks and advised the public to exercise caution as recovery efforts continued. On April 16th, Mount Ruan erupted in Indonesia's North Sulawesi province, marking its first eruption since 2002. The volcanic activity sent ash plumes high into the sky, prompting immediate evacuations of nearby residents. The eruption caused significant disruption in the region, with authorities issuing warnings about potential hazards from falling ash and volcanic debris. Emergency services work to ensure the safety of affected communities and to assess the damage. The eruption highlighted the need for ongoing vigilance in volcanic regions. Further updates were expected as the situation developed. On April 22nd, widespread flooding across southern China prompted the evacuation of 110,000 people. The severe inundation, described as a once-in-a-century event, severely impacted the Bai River region. Torrential rains led to riverbanks overflowing, causing extensive damage to homes and infrastructures. Emergency teams worked to relocate residents and provide urgent assistance. Authorities issued flood warnings and advised caution as the situation unfolded. The magnitude of the flood underscored the need for enhanced disaster preparedness and response in flood-prone areas. On April 26, 106 tornadoes tore through Nebraska, Iowa, Texas, Kansas, and Missouri, causing widespread destruction. The powerful storms devastated hundreds of homes and left a trail of devastation across the affected states. Emergency services mobilized to assist those displaced and to begin recovery efforts. The tornado outbreak prompted severe weather warnings and led to significant damage assessments. Authorities worked to provide aid and support to communities in need. The event marked one of the most severe tornado outbreaks in recent years, highlighting the region's vulnerability to extreme weather. On April 28, at least 37 mostly nocturnal tornadoes struck Oklahoma, causing widespread devastation and resulting in 4 deaths. The tornadoes, which struck under the cover of night, wreaked havoc across the state, destroying homes and infrastructure. Emergency responders worked through the night to search for survivors and provide aid to the affected communities. The intense storm activity highlighted the urgent need for improved tornado preparedness and response measures. Authorities continue to assess the damage and support recovery efforts in the impacted areas. On May 5th, massive floods in Brazil's Rio Grande do Sul state caused the deaths of 100 people, with 100 others reported missing. The catastrophic flooding was driven by record rainfall, with some areas receiving up to 300 millimeters, 11.8 inches. The deluge led to severe damage, overwhelming local infrastructure and prompting widespread evacuations. Emergency services scrambled to provide aid and conduct search and rescue operations. The disaster underscored the need for effective flood management and disaster response strategies in vulnerable regions. On May 12th, a devastating flash flood in northern Afghanistan resulted in the deaths of at least 300 people and destroyed nearly 2,000 homes. The disaster prompted an urgent response from the UN, which provided food and aid to help displaced Afghans manage the crisis. Emergency teams worked tirelessly to support affected communities, assess damage, and facilitate rescue operations. The severe flooding underscored the region's vulnerability to natural disasters and highlighted the critical need for disaster preparedness and relief efforts. On May 16th, a massive thunderstorm with hurricane-force winds swept across Houston, resulting in the deaths of 7 people and causing widespread power outages. Nearly 1 million customers were left without electricity as the storm wreaked havoc on the city's infrastructure. This severe weather event marked the second significant storm in the area this month. Emergency services worked to restore power and assist affected residents, while authorities urged caution due to ongoing weather threats. The storm highlighted Houston's vulnerability to extreme weather conditions. On May 25th, severe storms across Texas, Oklahoma, Arkansas, Missouri, Kentucky, and Alabama brought tornadoes and high winds, resulting in at least 26 deaths. The powerful storms caused extensive damage, destroying homes and infrastructures while leaving communities in turmoil. Emergency services scrambled to assist the affected regions, conducting search and rescue operations and providing relief to those impacted. The widespread devastation underscored the need for enhanced preparedness and response strategies in the face of extreme weather events. Authorities continued to assess the damage and support recovery efforts. On June 23rd, more than 1,300 people died during this year's Hajj pilgrimage, according to Saudi Arabia, as temperatures soared above 46 degrees Celsius, 117 degrees Fahrenheit in the shade. The pilgrimage, attended by 1.83 million Muslims, face severe heat challenges. Unregistered pilgrims who lacked access to air-conditioned transport and comfortable conditions were forced to walk long distances. The extreme heat and lack of proper facilities for some participants contributed to the high death toll. Authorities warn that pilgrims must review safety measures and plan their journey in advance to avoid potential deadly consequences. On June 24, severe flooding across the U.S. Midwest affected 3 million people in Minnesota, Iowa, South Dakota, and Nebraska. The unprecedented floodwaters completely cut off Spencer, Iowa, isolating the town and causing significant disruption. Emergency services were overwhelmed as they worked to provide aid and manage the extensive damage. This disaster marked a devastating conclusion to a series of intense weather events in the region. Thank you for watching. Remember to like and subscribe for new videos. Don't forget to let us know your thoughts in the comments below.